Did you push the button?
Perfectly excellent.
Hey, aloha to all of the party people out there on a Friday night. Welcome to Perfectly Excellent, which is probably our first sort of real live, not hidden from the general public stream.
I don't know about sorta. I think it is.
It's available. I wonder who will stumble across it. It's out there. We're out there in the world.
Awesome.
Anyway, I am Tim. Still.
Hello, Tim. Alan. Good to see you this Friday night. Excited
Yeah.
to chat about some things.
Yeah, we did a little bit of another trial run last night that seemed to go pretty good. So we're gonna give it a shot and see how well or poorly we managed to do with without the safety net of being hidden.
I like what you've done with the place, though. I like the stars. That's setting the mood for what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah. We replaced the, I don't know what direction I'm pointing, probably that way. We replaced the duck with the little Perfectly Excellent logo. I'm not sure if I'm pointing the right way.
Yep.
But yeah, we got some fun things. We're going to do one of our invention exchanges in just a minute. We're going to talk a little bit about the Star Wars Black Series, the Fanstream, and just the line in general. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, we're going to put a hard question to you.
To me?
To you. There's a decision that you need to make.
Oh, that's right. Yes. So
later on, we will talk about the decision that you need to make.
Yes, decision 2025.
Do you want to get into the invention exchange first?
I would love nothing more than to get into the invention exchange right
Let's
now.
do that.
Perfectly excellent.
That will never not make me smile.
No, that's a beautiful thing of beauty. Very well done. Would you like to go first? Oh, you want me? You?
Yeah, go first.
Rock, paper, scissors. Oh, you're up.
Oh, so I go first.
You go first.
All right. So as we've been practicing these, I've kind of tried to not always show toys. I want to kind of show some of the other things that I pick up from time to time.
Yeah, I noticed that with your background. You're like you're holding back on the toys.
I'm good. I got toys, and I'm sure I'll show toys. In fact, one showed up today that I debated, but maybe I'll save that for next week.
Okay.
But one of the things that I wanted to show, which is actually a little difficult to show because it will not focus well, I'm sure. But I recently picked this up. And it will be important to no one in the world except for me. But this is a matchbook from the Casa Hofbrau, which was my favorite restaurant when I was a little kid. It was a place that my grandparents used to take us all the time. It was a half Italian, half German eatery. And wow. it was my absolute favorite place. And they shut down sometime, I think, in the early 90s. And I wanted to try to find something that existed of it. And there's not a whole lot of memorabilia for, a 35-year-old Italian-German restaurant in Emerson, New Jersey. But I did find a matchbook for it. So I bought that off of eBay. And my plan is to kind of get a little frame for it, hang it up in my kitchen, just so I can kind of remember that, because that's the kind of thing that I like. I like to try to go back to those good, happy times in the younger time. And I'm very happy to have that, even though, again, I don't think it's the sort of thing most people would think is that interesting.
No, but I think a lot of people can relate. I mean, we're all kind of chasing that feeling, right? That nostalgia or just those memories of what we grew up with. My invention exchange today is not nearly as cool, but it is still a little bit along those lines. So, and I've never been to that restaurant, and I'm sorry now that I never have, but
it was good.
Yeah.
They had really good meat ravioli.
Oh, okay. Well, not good enough apparently, because they went out of business, right?
How dare you?
I know, I'm kidding. So I mentioned this during our eBay segment last week that I was kind of trolling around looking for more Beetlejuice stuff, and I was mistaken. I said the things I were looking at were McDonald's Happy Meal toys, and I was wrong. They were actually Burger King Beetlejuice figures, and I have them, but might have kind of worn down over time. So I started looking, and lo and behold, I was able to find, I don't know if you can see those, a lot of just, I don't know how people have these still sealed. Like that's crazy, right? But I've got 4 out of the, what is there, maybe 6, 5 or 6 of them have arrived. There's 6 because I think I have 2 more in the mailbox right now. So that quest has ended.
Here's the question about your quest.
Okay.
I'm going to add Ion to your quest.
Okay.
Are you going to open them?
I think I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to put them, I want to rearrange. Oh, and there's the doorbell as expected. I want to rearrange my, my collection, and I want to make a nice Beetlejuice shelf because I have a lot of Beetlejuice stuff that I've just accumulated over the years. And these, along with the thing that I got last time, the clings, I think they'll go really nicely together. And yeah, I don't think they need to be freed unless I open them from the bag and they just disintegrate. You know, plastic sitting in a bag for, what were they, 19? They were 1989. That'd be later than that. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on the year on those. You okay there?
Yes, I'm trying to grab something out of one of my shelves without breaking anything. I'm kind of have like a little bit of a dilemma because like I also have something sort of like that. These are from China, like I think in 2013 or 2014, they did like a series of little like plushies of some of the McDonald's characters.
Oh, no way. That's great.
And I have Officer Big Mac and I have Mayor McCheese, who's just out of reach, which is why I grabbed Officer Big Mac. And normally I would open something like this up immediately, but like the box is really cool.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
I like, you know, I don't know. I'm having a tough time deciding whether or not I'm going to free them because as you can see from the background, I am a freer. I do not like keeping them encased in carbonite, but I'm having a tough time with that one.
But it looks like you could still take it out of the bag, right? And it would stay in the box?
No, the bag's sealed.
Oh. So wait, but let's see that one more time. Bring that back up. So if you took the bag off, it just all comes out?
Well, once I open the bag, yes, I could take it out and put it back in the box, but then it's not sealed in the bag anymore.
Ah, I got it. Yeah,
because
this is a dilemma.
Yeah. So not
Look
sure
at us
what I'm
fast
going to
food toys.
I will probably end up freeing them eventually, but there's I think 5 more that I need to hunt down. One of which is Mac Tonight, which I really would like. I'm very excited about that one.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm we'll have to keep tabs on whether you free McCheese or not.
Yeah, well, we'll have a decision for me to make as well.
Yeah, that's right. There's your decision, 2025. We need a big bumper for that. So
yeah. All right. So the main thing that we were going to do is we were going to maybe talk a little Star Wars if you want.
Yeah, I want, not maybe. Let's do this. Let's definitely jump in. I think this is after that the latest stream is a very good time to talk.
All right, let's do.
So do you want me to kick this off?
Well,
let's do. We're
perfectly excellent.
Now I'm in the
one of us is having a little bit of lag here, so of course that's happening since maybe there's folks watching. But yeah, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about Star Wars Black Series. They did a fan stream this week where they went over some of the vintage collection and the Black Series reveals, and it just really got me thinking about the line. And I know that when we originally talked about it, I had said, hey, let's do something quick about the stream as like the second half of maybe another episode that we were going to do. And you said like, no, I think we actually have a lot more to talk about. And when we both started thinking about that, I think you were right.
Oh, nice. Go me. So where do we want to start with the stream, or should we start at the go to the beginning here? And
yeah, let's start with the stream. So basically the stream was very short.
Yes,
it was only about I think it was maybe less than a half hour long. They revealed 4 vintage collection items and 3 Black Series collection items. And I figured we can go look at those real quick and then maybe kind of have some broader conversations about things.
Yeah. Now, I know we're focused on Black Series, but let me ask you, do you pay attention to the vintage collection stuff at all? Do you buy any of that?
I have a couple of Boba Fett's, but that's it. I don't really collect the vintage collection at all. I do sort of pay attention to it because I like to try to figure out whether or not what they're doing will end up in the Black Series, but that's just peripherally more than anything.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same. Like I bought a couple like Mandos, I have some Boba Fett's, but when I got that Star Speeder from the Star Wars Star Tours, that's for the vintage collection scale. So I did dip my toes in and I bought a bunch more just so I can fill in the seats in that thing. So I
Right.
got a few more, but definitely not the priority for me.
All right. Well, let's look at some of these figures.
Right.
So on the vintage collection, they revealed 5 figures. We have Asajj Ventress, we have Callus, Carson Teva, Dengar, and a new land speeder with Luke that comes with his bucket hat and his poncho, which is
Mhm.
very, very important Luke accessories.
Yes, definitely.
So I don't know. I mean, I look at this and I think, oh, sure would like a Callus in the black line because the Rebels figures are some of the Black Series ones that I do collect. But I mostly just sort of look at this and go, yeah, that's cool. It feels like I believe the Ventress and the Dengar figures are both reissues,
Mhm.
which is a kind of recurring theme. It feels like with Star Wars characters is that they keep kind of putting out the same ones over and over again.
Yeah, and these are vintage collections, so I don't really know what sells. I know they did that on the Black Series scale with Dengar, like they re-released him, and then I think he became a peg warmer for a long time. But I don't know. I was psyched when I first saw Callus, but then since like we said, I don't collect the vintage collection scale, but it does give me hope. That was one of the wild cards that I'd love to see in Rebel. So I'm fingers crossed that he makes it to the Black Series.
Yeah, the land speeder looked kind of cool. I like the giant gash out of the front of it that you, of course, cannot see in this picture at all. But it's a good looking one. It has the same old Kenner functionality where like the stick shift makes the wheels come out of the bottom,
I saw
which,
that. Yeah, that's great.
which I
Yeah,
enjoy that.
yeah. I have the Black Series one. Otherwise, I think I'd be really interested in checking this one out as well. But no, I think it's cool. I'm actually jealous that the vintage collection does so many vehicles, and we just don't get that. I mean, I know it's harder to do in the larger scale, but I wish we would get more vehicles and more bigger kind of play sets and accessories for the figures.
I also think they get a better character selection in general. Like this is kind of something that I figured we'd probably end up talking about
Yeah.
in general when we talk about the line. But I look at this and I'm like, oh, hey, this is some good stuff. It's from a whole bunch of different eras of Star Wars. And I'm into this. I don't feel that same way when I'm looking at the Black Series reveals.
Definitely not from this stream. And again, I don't know enough about the vintage collection to know how diverse they are and what characters there are. But yeah, it'd be something I'd interested to kind of break down and see. Like, if some of your wish list items, do they have vintage collection counterparts and they're just not in Black Series scale, or is it really kind of almost 1-to-1 where if something makes it here, it'll come over to Black Series and vice versa? I don't know.
I don't know either. So then we move on to the Black Series. And I feel like there's probably a chance you are going to be way more into these figures than I would. But I look at these. We have the Night Trooper, the zombie troopers from Ahsoka. We have Ezra with his flashy beard, and we have SM-33. And I mean, I'm not going to get any of these. I like Ahsoka. I thought that show was good. I really liked Skeleton Crew a lot, but I haven't bought any of those other figures. So I look at all of these and I'm like, okay, but I don't need any of them.
So let me ask you a question about that before I get into it. So you just said something curious. So you like SM-33, but you didn't buy any of the other figures. And
Yeah,
I feel like that's kind of the way you work, right? Like if you're gonna dip into something, it's the cast of characters, right? It's
yeah.
not just one or two offs.
I
Okay.
wouldn't want just like a single character from a show. If I'm going to get something from the show, like I want to display it with the rest of the items from the show. Like getting just a one-off figure, it's like, where do I put it?
Yeah. No, and that again, super interesting because like again, you have a great collection behind you. You have everything on display. And when I look at them, I'm thinking, what am I going to do with this figure? And it's not necessarily displays. I want to take photos of them. Um, so even if I didn't have the rest of the Skeleton Crew cast, SM-33 has been one I've been waiting for. Like that's a definite pickup for me. I'm a little disappointed. I don't think he looks great. Maybe he looks better in hand, and I know he can extend, but
That was cool. I did think
yeah,
that was really interesting that like all of his arms and legs like go out like an extra half inch or whatever.
yeah, and maybe I'm asking for a lot here because I know these are Black Series figures, but the legs and everything, it looks like it's just it could have used more detail on it. But again, I have him pre-ordered. I'm excited. I managed to snag the pre-order for at Amazon when he was at the 24.99 as opposed to he's a deluxe figure, so I think it's like $34. So that made it even better.
Nice.
Night Trooper looks really, really cool. And I did not order that figure, but I'm looking at him now. I might change that.
I'm kind of surprised because that seems like, regardless of how you feel about that as a character in the show, which I think you actually liked it, but I don't
Oh, I
remember.
loved it. Yeah.
But regardless, this figure seems very much in your wheelhouse as far as the sort of thing that you would pick up, you would take probably multiple pictures of.
Yeah. I have like the regular trooper, the night trooper, and then I don't even know what his name was, Captain Chaos, the gold-plated guy.
Oh, the
But yeah, this
stormtrooper
guy,
with a face.
yeah, I can't remember his name, but I think this guy looks really, really cool. So I don't know, I'm going to see where he's available. Maybe I'll go for him. Ezra, I think is great. I loved him in Ahsoka. It was really cool to see him. But again, I look at this figure. I'm not looking at it like, oh, I'm going to display him, put him in my collection. Like, am I going to photograph him? Is there anything I want to do with him? And I don't know. I'm not feeling you know, the, the energy from that guy, or
Yeah.
but it's still, I'm glad they did it. And yeah, I think these are cool. So
Yeah. Again, but I look at it and I'm just like, I don't really think this is for me. And then that's kind of where we started talking a little bit more about the Black Series in general. So, like, why would we talk about it? It's because because I looked at that. I didn't watch the Fanstream live. I didn't watch it until today, actually, just because I knew we were going to talk about it.
mhm.
Because I just wasn't the least bit excited about anything that the Black Series has been doing lately. It's kind of been bumming me out. I've gone from buying a lot of figures in the line to pretty much just going like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And in my head, I'm very much sort of taking the mentality of, I'm not buying any more of those figures until you give me the figures that I'm waiting for, which is
Awesome.
absurd. I acknowledge that that is absurd, but
Yeah.
that's sort of this weird mentality I have about it now.
Well, can we go back to the beginning and then like let's lead up to like maybe talk about what characters you're waiting for? Because again, I know you got into Black Series before I did. I
Sort of.
resisted the line. Like around that time, I was very I I had to try to focus my budget and my energy, and I was full on into Lego way back when. And I thought there were some cool figures, but I thought those initial like the face sculpts and the paint just looked awful to me. So I stayed away. Aside from picking up Boba Fett in what was it 2014, right? From some guy on Instagram. Like I stayed away. Okay, so here we go. So again,
Yeah,
like go ahead.
you actually got your Boba Fett a little bit before me. We both figured out exactly when we got our first figure. It was both Boba Fett, and I believe yours was in January of 2014, and mine was in February of 2014. I picked mine up at the Wayne toy show,
Mhm.
and I went looking for that figure in stores before I actually just bought it at the Wayne toy show. And by the time I did buy it at the toy show, it was pretty much retail price anyway. It had finally fallen back to like, basically, I think I paid maybe like a $4 surcharge or something like that.
Mhm.
But I remember when this series came out, I went to several Toys R Us's because those were still around back then, like looking specifically for Boba Fett. And I remember just every store was just full of Huttslayer Leia and Greedo, like just piles of them everywhere I went. And I just remember thinking, like, you're launching this line with these figures?
Yeah.
Like the Luke Skywalker you're giving us is the X-Wing Luke. You're giving us, okay, a Stormtrooper, that's cool. Sand Trooper, I'm okay with that. They gave us the right Han Solo. R2D2, no brainer. Even Boba Fett's kind of a no brainer because he's so popular. But you know, that Princess Leia, that Luke,
Yeah,
Darth
even
Maul,
Maul, right?
and
That is a weird assortment.
Greedo. Again, not that Darth Maul's not an important character to the prequel trilogy, but he's the only figure from that way. Like these two waves make no sense to me.
Yeah. It's where I'm soaking this all in because again, when this all came out, I bought Boba Fett just because Boba Fett, and I let that slide. Not that I let it slide, but it's like an exception. I can buy Boba Fett figures even if they're not Lego. R2D2 was the other one from this wave that was really tugging at me because I love the droids. And I remember watching him like he popped up on Amazon, I think, and his price wasn't too bad. And then he was gone, and I would see him at the toy shows, and he was like crazy money. So I said, okay, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, this is super interesting assortment to kind of start things, and maybe that's like an omen for how Black Series works. That we'll do one prequel character, and then we'll just who else could we do? So.
Well, and I kind of wouldn't mind it if they'd had that sort of variety in every wave. Like I kind of think that's a good thing. Just make sure you have a little something for everybody. But I don't think they do that well anymore. And back then, again, I was just not motivated to like dive into this. I wanted to get Boba Fett. And then I don't know if we want to talk about it yet, but like I kind of had this cascading problem with the Black Series.
Okay.
It's like, I'm going to get Boba Fett because he looks great. I want the bounty hunters. I'll get the bounty hunters.
Yeah.
I want the Rebels figures. Like I really loved Rebels when it was out. I'm like, let me get the Rebels figures. And then, and like every single time it's like, okay, I'll get those. Okay, I'll get those. And then it just obviously turns into a problem.
So let me ask you a question. Going into these figures, was this the first line of 6-inch figures that you got into? I don't remember what else was out around this time.
I think so.
Yeah. I remember it being weird for me to go from, the scale that we grew up with to now the 1/12 scale. And now I'm so used to it. It's what I look for everything.
Yeah, a lot of the 3/3/4 inch, like they seem really small. Like whenever I see a vintage collection figure in person, I just like, wow, these things are tiny. They're not. They're the same size as everything else I ever had.
Same way. They seem like I'm like, this cannot possibly have been, the toys we played with.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting like that. But yeah, this was kind of my first foray into, I guess we'll call them larger format action figures. But it certainly wasn't the last because it's pretty much the scale of my main collections at this point. Classified for G.I. Joe is the same scale. All of the Super 7 Ultimates, they're 7-inch figures, so they're even a little bit bigger than this. But that's kind of the stuff that I tend to enjoy most. And I think a lot of it is just because of how well it displays. I have like my vintage Kenner Star Wars figures over here, and don't get me wrong, they look great, but they don't really pop in the same way. Like looking at them from a distance, you kind of got to get in a little bit closer to kind of I know them closing my eyes, I know what they look like, but it's a different shelf experience.
All right, so 2014 Boba Fett, and I guess waves 1 and 2 came out, and then you kind of stuck with it. More and more kept coming out that that like, okay, I'll get this. I still stayed away for a number of years. I picked up a couple after Boba Fett, but I was really fighting hard to stay away from Black Series. I know I bought Chopper when he came out, and then I bought Ray and BB-8. I don't know which ones came out first, but because I wanted BB-8, and that was it for me until 2019 when the Mandalorian came out. So, but before we get into that, like, so what besides Boba Fett, like, what was it that brought you to Black Series?
I mean, it's a really great looking figure. Like up there right now, that I took that picture the day I got it from the Wayne Toy Show. I actually posted that on Instagram back in 2014. But it was just a really cool looking figure. I didn't have anything really at that scale. I didn't really have anything with that level of detail. So I wanted to, Boba Fett looked great. I was going to get the Boba Fett figure. And then I think the next bounty hunter that came out was Bosk. And Bosk also looked great. So I was like, all right, I'll get him. But then once you have two of them,
Yeah.
You gotta get all 6 of the bounty.
Now this
hunters.
is your DNA, this is your
Yeah.
blood, right? And bounty hunters, I think everybody will agree with you, but I know it's probably even worse for you that like I have an incomplete collection, right? Like I need the rest. And I don't know how many years did it take for them to finally release the rest?
A while. I feel like it was a while. I know the main 4 came out. I don't want to say reasonably quick because I think Dengar kind of trailed behind everyone. And I had a very unpleasant pre-order experience with Dengar.
Okay.
Which
Go
I don't know if
on.
you want to talk about those yet, but
Well, I mean, maybe we could save that to later. Right now, I like the origin story. What got us into this, and then we can
yeah.
go into our pain points.
So Boba Fett came out first. Boss came out not too long after that. And then IG-88 wasn't too far behind. And then it took a little while for Dengar. And then I remember Forlom and Zuckuss taking a little bit. Or am I supposed to say it like the old commercials? 4LOM? Am I supposed to say it like that?
I don't even remember that. Did they really say that? That's awful.
Yeah, it was very, very odd.
Yeah.
But yeah, those took a little while to come out.
Okay. And it's funny that like what you said about Boba Fett is you bought him at a toy show. I bought him at someone off of Instagram because that kind of ties into where I was thinking, when I said I got back into Black Series when The Mandalorian came out, because I remembered I couldn't find The Mandalorian anywhere. Like I checked Target, I was running like crazy. I had to enlist a whole bunch of friends like around the country to try to find them. And it was a pain in the butt. Like they just weren't around when I started getting into them. But I did luck out. I eventually got the Mandalorian, and I got the carbon version, the carbonized. Yeah, which I think is in my pile to sell. Actually, I don't think I ever touched that or opened it. But one thing that's funny that I remember is Kmart had the Mandalorian available. Oh, you have the picture. You kept it.
Of course.
This is so funny. Yeah, so I ordered 2. I was like, I thought I scored big time. And then someone on Twitter at the time, whatever, is like, you idiot. These are not them. Don't ever order toys from Kmart. And sure enough, in the mail, I think I got like a Poe Dameron and like a Rey figure. Like they did not even care. And then it was such a pain to try to return them because I went to one Kmart and that was nearby. There was only 2 of them at the time, and that one was going out of business, so not accepting any returns. So I had to drive completely out of the way to return them. And I still remember the guy at the register was like, "Oh yeah, why are you returning these?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's not the ones I ordered." Like, I don't know, they look pretty cool. You sure you don't want to keep them? But what a pain it was to get those Black Series figures, and I think that kind of maybe it was FOMO or whatever that really escalated for me because I noticed that I started pre-ordering like crazy after that just to try to get my hands on them.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way. I just actually had another memory of another figure that they used to see everywhere, and I can't remember his real name, and I don't want to say the name that we called him.
I know who you're talking about.
The Constable.
Constable Zuko or whatever his name was. I miss him. I hope he's well. Yeah, I kind of want to get him.
It was the Force Awakens figure of a character that didn't even end up in the movie, and he just had that like flat helmet thing.
I think for Black Series figures, he's kind of legendary because everybody would see that. Like, yeah, you would go to Target and they would have like rows of him and nobody else. And then there was another. Was it the character from Solo? Was the other one? There was another like shelf warmer or peg warmer that came out. But yeah, it was. Those were the dark times. Definitely not pleasant pre-ordering experiences way back when.
No. And you touched on something and I might be moving ahead a little bit. I don't know if you want me to do that, but you talked about how you bought the carbonized Mando and the regular Mando, and Mando is one of the reasons why I kind of started to eventually back off the line a little bit.
Oh, but do tell.
There's too many Mandalorian figures. There's way too many Mandalorian figures.
Yeah, and I know you've counted them, so I'm dying to see exactly how many there are.
How many Mandalorian figures do you think there have been?
Okay.
And don't guess like an outlandish number because you think it's an outlandish number. Like,
okay, so let's start with the first Mando. Are you counting? Do I count the carbonized version as well?
Yes.
Okay. So we got the original Mando, and the carbonized version of Mando. Then I don't know what came next, but he remember in that first episode, he changed his armor instantly. So then there was, I'm sure, the new one with his new armor. There's the one with the spiders. There's the one that he's covered in mud. I know there's so many more. There's the deluxe version where he came with Grogu. There's another one. There's the spider, the mud. I know there's got to be at least 10 different ones, and I can't. Let me. I know there's more because I have probably most of them because I'm an idiot. Am I close? Am I off?
There are 13 different Mandalorian figures. You remember that white box one? Like until I started looking them up, that erased from my brain completely.
Yeah. I remember that too. There was a few that they did with like first editions. I don't think I ever saw any of those in store. So you're right.
But you had the credit editions where they had like kind of the wacky colors, and like they put the holocom one. There are so many Mandalorian figures, and I just started feeling burnt. I bought the first one, which again, they changed his outfit immediately. Yeah. I bought the carbonized one. I bought the credit one, which I still think the credit one is pretty cool. I didn't end up keeping it. I got rid of that one and the carbonized one. Then there's the Beskar one. Then there's the Beskar one where the helmet comes off and he comes with Grogu. And then there's more critical. And like, that was the last one I bought. After that, I didn't buy any of them. And to this day, now I only have 2. I have the very first one and I have the one that came with Grogu, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm looking over this list, and it's probably easier to say the ones I don't have. So I don't have the holocom one. I don't know if I have Mines of Mandalore. Is that the one that actually came with like a soft goods? One of them came with a cape, like a real cape.
Maybe like in the picture, it just looked like that the Darksaber was the main draw of that one.
And if that's the only one that comes with the Darksaber, then yeah, I got that one too. I know I held off on the spider. I did catch myself. I'm like, I don't need like Ice Mando, but then it went on sale. It was like $12, so I got it. And the Dirt Mando, I don't even remember why I bought that. I remember making a video of just like, I think I got it for Grogu or something. I opened it up and I threw him like right in the toilet.
It came with the egg.
Oh yes, the Suka. Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I probably have at least 10 of these.
So that's the thing that started kind of beating me over the head. It's like, man, there are way too many Mandos. Then there's way too many Mandalorians, and there's way too many stormtroopers and clone troopers.
I knew you were going to go there. Yep.
I started to feel like the line started to feel abusive. It's like, I don't want, like, why do you keep giving me the same thing over and over and over again? And then they started up, okay, hey, here's the archive collection where we've made the figure a little bit better. So do you want to stick to the one you got 2 years ago, or do you want one that's a little bit better? Yeah. And then, hey, we're going to re-release it again, this time on a retro card. Hey, then we're going to re-release it again. And I feel like they just keep putting the same figures out over and over and over again. Meanwhile, in my opinion, there's just a slew of things that they never, ever got to. Again, We'll go back to what they revealed for the vintage collection. Like, we don't have a Callus.
That's an over Callus and Old Man Rex. Like, that's I think what's needed.
And the inventory droid. Those are 3 big ones from Rebels that, like, I've got room for them, but where are they? They never came.
Yeah. And and it's funny you talk about this, and I'll jump around a bit because when I got into Black Series, like I was chasing, the Mandalorian at the time. But what I really liked was going back and getting the obscure characters like Dr. Aphra and her murder droids. Like I was really psyched to get them. And then the vintage collection helped a lot because, again, I was catching up. I didn't have any of those figures. And I'm like, okay, if there's a new one, like I'll grab the better one. But yeah,
you mean the archive ones.
I'm sorry, what did I say? The vintage. Yeah, the archive ones. But the troopers, I was all in on the troopers because that was one figure when I got into Black Series, I couldn't get like the standard Imperial trooper. And I think I got like a model kit. People were talking about it on Reddit. Oh, just get the model kit. It's the same thing. So I got that, and it kind of like fell apart. So if you ever look at my photos when there's like parts of a stormtrooper, it's that model kit that didn't stay together. But then they eventually released a lot of stormtroopers, a lot of different colors, and I bought most of them. The yellow
Yeah.
one, the red one.
I mean, without counting like Death Troopers, just like standard Stormtroopers, I think I have 6 of them that are all kind of different. Like, why? I don't want 2 is fine. I'll take the Sand Trooper and then I'll take the standard Stormtrooper. I don't need all of these other Stormtroopers. And there's plenty that they've reissued that I didn't buy.
Yeah. I did just sell the I think it was from the Mandalorian, the yellow trooper, like the grenade trooper. So he finally sold him on eBay. I have the flame trooper in a bag to get rid of too. So if anybody's interested, let me know. But
in the comments, please feel free. Jump in those comments.
Yeah. So where are we now? We're talking about what we liked, what we didn't like.
Well, yeah, we're kind of just going through everything. You know, there's a lot to like about this. You know, I like the scale. I like the way they look. I've never really had quite the same issues with some of the human characters that I know you had some issues with, especially at the beginning. Like to me, I'm not a toy photographer. To me, they're toys. Yeah. So I don't really need that like hyper realistic. Like I kind of want it to look like a toy. That's why I buy them. That's why I don't buy statues. That's why I don't do the other. Like I want it to kind of look like a toy. So I've never had those issues with it. I like it. But again, it's been feeling abusive lately, and they're doing less and less that I'm interested in.
Yeah. So let's take a step back though, because I want to talk about just for a second, there was a period with Black Series, and you probably remember this, where you didn't even, when a new figure was being put up for pre-order, you didn't even have time to think about it. Like you had to pre-order it and then think if you wanted it or not. And I remember, you know, I would talk about it at home, like, oh, why are you buying all these toys? I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to keep them. I need to pre-order them and think about it for the next year, whether I actually want it, because otherwise they were just gone. They were impossible to get. And the toy shows had crazy prices, like, you know, markups on them. So that was, I think, a definite dark time. And that experience really started to wear on me and like make me sour a bit on the line, because it wasn't fun. Like it wasn't fun to buy them, to collect them. It was aggravating and super frustrating. And then just to see people flipping them on eBay all the time was dark time.
Yeah. And certainly not to jump on something that like everybody in the world has jumped on repeatedly for years. But whenever there was like a Walmart or a Target exclusive, it was just a nightmare. Yeah,
but that was so much fun going in the streams though. Every live stream, and they would say like, "Oh, this is going to be a Target exclusive." I was like, "No more exclusives! Stop the exclusives!"
Oh, in the chat, like everyone
in the chat,
out.
yeah.
But
it was brutal, because Target had that habit of like, if it was delayed, they would just cancel your order, and that was super frustrating. And Walmart, like, it was, that really sucked. And I think I'll give them credit. Actually, I don't know if it's their credit. Whatever it was, that kind of equalized, right?
Yeah.
Where they became easier to get, and maybe it was because people had given up on it. I don't really know, or distribution got better, but that stuff really sucked.
No, but you talked about the one getting canceled. That's what happened to my Dengar that I was referencing earlier. I had pre-ordered that on Amazon of all places. And then when the figure was actually finally coming out, they just canceled it on me. And then I had a really hard time finding Dengar after that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I never found it in a store. I definitely had to buy it on the secondary market.
Yeah. I had more than one angry chats with Target saying, "Hey, you canceled my order, and now it's unavailable." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, sorry about that." And I'm like, "But this is an exclusive. Like, I can only get it from you. I don't want, sorry, like, stop doing that."
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very frustrating. Definitely not a pleasant pre-order experience. And that's the other thing, you know, that kind of maybe ties back into the Fanstream stuff, is I often felt like that team, I'm talking about past tense, because I don't know that any of them are on any of the fan streams. Like I didn't see anyone that I recognized on the fan stream recently, but the folks that were doing it several years ago, they felt kind of tone deaf. Like I feel like they couldn't read the room, and they were very much just being like, yeah, great, run out and get these right now. And meanwhile, like you said in the chat, everyone's going like, how? We can't get
Yeah.
these ever.
Yeah, why they never did like a subscription or something? Because at the time, I would have definitely signed up. I would rather have signed up. Just send me everything, and I'll resell the ones I don't want. But yeah, it was super frustrating. And again, I took issues with the team too. And I know it's work, like it's a job,
Yeah.
and they're doing anything, but they couldn't have come across more just like disconnected from. You're doing a fan stream talking to fans. The
About
whole
Star Wars.
yeah, about Star Wars, right? And
Like
you're
the coolest
talking
thing in the
about
world.
an expression from the entertainment. Like I love that. It's like what are you talking about? An expression from the it's a figure from the movie or from the show. Like it was
Yeah,
such
they always
marketing
tried to
speak.
yeah, I can't stand the marketing speak. They never came across like humans. And I hate saying that
Human.
about a person. Like I do. I hate saying
You
that.
say it with love. Yeah.
N I say it because it makes me sad. You know, I hope that when they step out from behind the camera, they leave a wonderful, full, charismatic life.
I'm sure they do.
But, you know, watching the fan stream this afternoon, I was just like, this is death. This is just
Mhm.
absolute death. The eerie silence of those fan streams, like they need some bed music or they need something under there
I wonder if
because
there's any like music from the entertainment that they can leverage in those
it
streams.
sounds like it's being filmed in an abandoned prison. Like
Yeah.
it is so odd with people who just don't seem to actually care until you got to that guy who played the X-Wing pilot. I don't remember his name. The actor who played Teva Carson or Carson Teva or whatever that character's name is.
Yeah.
He was a fountain of charisma. He did a very, very
He's
good job.
awesome. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, why you don't need that figure? Like,
And just let him have the let him have the show.
yeah,
I think that's one that's kind of been requested by a
yeah.
lot of fans because again, he's part of the fan community. So I and again, I like when they do the deep cuts. I know you're chasing like more of the nostalgic figures, from the Kenner lineup, but I like when they do the weird and unexpected. But one other thing I want to talk about, in addition to when the pre-orders got crazy, is they increased the price. Because when I
Mm.
got into Black Series, they were $19.99, and that was like impulse purchase, right? $20. Like you see a figure, sure, I'll grab it. And not that $24.99 is like a big jump, but it did give me pause. Like you stopped, you slowed down a little bit, oh, I got to think about this one. I don't know, do I really want this? And I showed you like my stupid charts, like for the
Yeah.
receipts I kept, where the one year I had like 50 something figures, the next year went down to 40, and it decreased rapidly year over year. So the price increase, the pre-order experience, and yeah, and like you're saying, just like the repaints and the rehashes kind of hurt.
And not feeling the enthusiasm from the team and not feeling, and again, I don't necessarily know that is the difference is I didn't think like they were listening to people who collect like I collect, or was it that I felt that they didn't really listen to anyone? And I don't really know, because I suppose there's probably people who want a million different repaints of a stormtrooper. I don't know them. That
Yeah,
being said, I don't really know many people, so
I think they are out there, but I don't think if they were listening, they weren't listening holistically to all of what the fans were asking for, and I don't know that they still are. And it seems like they are hesitant, like when it comes to creating new tooling, right?
yeah.
And new figures. It's just easier. Okay, put out another trooper. And again, maybe that's just a business decision, right? That makes it easier. But yeah, as someone who likes the line and supports it, it's frustrating. Like you want those other characters, and unfortunately, they require a new tool.
Yeah, it's tough. It to me, it sometimes feels like they're just kind of just botching what should be a slam dunk. And is there a bigger example of that
Oh
than the
no.
Rancor?
Yeah. So let's real talk here. Okay.
Do it.
I wanted that Rancor. I
Yeah.
was I was super psyched when they announced that they were doing a HasLab and they said it's not a vehicle. I'm like, it is the Rancor. I mean, I wasn't special. Everyone knew it was the Rancor, right? The Kenner Rancor was one of my favorite toys as a kid. It ate everybody. Like it just wrecked everything, destroyed everybody with this. No. And I was just thinking like, oh man, this massive, you know, 1/12 scale Rancor is going to be amazing. And they unveiled it and it looked cool. I had money in hand and they unsold me on it. Like the more they talked, the more I backed away from it. Like, and it's just, I'm disappointed that it did not get made because I would have loved to have had it. But man, and we talked about this. That was one for the history books on how to botch a crowdfunding campaign.
If I remember correctly, they didn't reveal everything all at once. They had multiple streams where they then revealed like, hey, and if we get here, we'll do this. And hey, if we get here, we'll do this. And I remember saying to you very specifically, like, until they say there's a Rancor Keeper, there's no way I buy this without a Rancor Keeper, because they're never going to make a Rancor Keeper if they don't make it with this. Yeah. And again, getting the Kenner figures in Black Series is pretty much my thing. That's what I want more than anything right now. And the first reveal, it's like, okay, there's no Rancor Keeper. He'll probably be the stretch goal. I mean, certainly he'll be the first stretch goal. Yeah. And then they did like another one, and it's like, okay, Bones. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that's really lame, but maybe, they haven't revealed everything. Maybe he'll be a future one. And then they just kept going, and it's
cardboard
like, oh, hey, here's
backdrop.
a piece of cardboard. And eventually it came with a figure. I think it was a Jedi Luke, if I remember correctly.
I can't remember. Did it come with like a Gamorrean guard? Yeah.
But there was no Rancor Keeper. And I'm like, this is insane. And again, I don't hang out in a lot of like online fan communities or message boards or anything like that. But you could just, even into my world, it permeated that like there were so many people that are like, where's the Rancor Keeper? Yeah, they obviously felt that eventually, and like at a last ditch moment, they're like, oh hey, no, we'll just include him with the base level.
Yeah, that was a Hail Mary.
By then I was done. I was like, I am not giving you my money. You don't get it. You don't get it.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think it could have been salvaged, but I think there was so much like lost faith and ill will towards the campaign at that point that when they brought it out, and I don't, it's been a while, so I don't remember the details why everyone was so frustrated, but they just kind of botched the handling of that. Yeah, the Rancor Keeper should have been a no-brainer day one. Like, you start with those two, it's a complete set. At that point, if they threw in Bones and cardboard, no one would have cared, right? Yeah. But or shown him from day one that he was a stretch goal, and yeah, people would have been like telling their friends, hey, you got to back this, I want to get it. But I'm sad that it does not exist, though. I would have loved to have had that.
Yeah, no, it again, I just wanted the Rancor Keeper even more than the Rancor, because it needs to go on my shelf next to the other Return of the Jedi figures. Mm-hmm. That's just how my brain works. That's how my mania works. But the other thing that we wanted to kind of talk about is like, where do we see this going? Are we still in, upcoming stuff? I know there's one figure that you're excited about, which I have a slide of that, so we'll bring that up in just a second here. But I actually realized that I have no clue what's coming up. I didn't know what any of the pipelines were. I didn't know really any of the leaks. So I did a little searching today to try to find some sort of list of upcoming Black Series figures. And I found something on Reddit, which is just like this mile-long list of all of these things, some from reveals, but mostly from like leaks and speculation and rumors and all of that stuff. And there's nothing on that list that I care about, other than if they actually are going to do a Callus, which was on that list. I'm into that. I will buy that. But who knows if they were talking about that Callus or they were talking about the vintage collection Callus. So I don't even know. But there was nothing. And there was such a dearth of original trilogy characters. It depresses me. There are so many left to make that they haven't made. And I'm just kind of like, I'll buy them when they come out, but I'm not buying any more stuff from any of the new TV shows because I don't have room for like another wave of 8 figures or anything like that. Because they have to go in a separate section by themselves. Like, they can't intermingle with everybody else.
Got it. It's an interesting restriction you have there, but I totally get it. Yeah, because it's just, I get it. So do you want to go into the list of what you're waiting for? or what you would like to see, not even what's
Well, I think
upcoming.
we can go. Let's go to the one that you do want that has been revealed
Yeah.
that you were excited about.
So now
Um,
this is what I'm here for. Like when it comes to Black Series, again, I'm happy for the characters that from the entertainment that we all know and love. I'm happy when they do that, but
the
it's
Express.
I'm sorry, the expression. It's the no, it's the expression of the entertainment.
Yes.
This is the stuff like, this is the Ronin from Star Wars Visions, and they had hinted about this character coming to Black Series. So I'm super psyched. Not so psyched that this is a Star Wars Celebration Japan exclusive, but I think they're come out and said now that there is going to be a mainline release for this character. Hopefully, both the droid and the Ronin, different colorway. I would love to get this one because this one looks really cool with the soft goods and kind of the black and white coloring.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I set an alert on eBay. There's a couple listings up there for $250 already. I think he was either $60 or $70. I think maybe it was $70 in Japan. So it's just awesome. Like again, keep doing stuff like this. I love that they did Star Killer. Again, Dr. Afra. I'm trying to think of all the weird characters, the weird Star Wars characters. That's what I'm there for.
I have been tempted by Prince Zizor because I did really like the Shadows of the Empire book when I was in. I guess that came out when I was in high school, maybe college. I don't remember, but
Yeah,
like
I like
that's
the
cool.
deep cuts. Yeah,
But I can't have Prince Zizor if I don't have Dash Rendar. Like
yeah,
you got to give me Dash.
and that's the thing. You're probably never gonna get that right, or who knows? Never say never. But yeah, again, this encourages me. So you talk about like what we're gonna do with the future. Are we gonna stick with the line? I think I pre-ordered, what was it, one figure this year.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't remember. I maybe, and it was SM33. Okay. So give me this. If I can get this, I would love to get my hands on this one. But I don't really know. I don't have a huge list of wants from Black Series, but
But you
keep
do
it
have
weird. I do have wants, not a
a
big
list of
list.
wants.
Yes. Okay. So again, keeping it weird here. We're talking, Merrin from the Jedi Survivor game. If you, I think you should go on YouTube and watch the cutscenes from that game because it's so awesome. Like Cal Kestis, Merrin, it's a great crew, and she is such an awesome character.
I
And I
did.
would,
This name was on that leak list that I found.
okay, that's dynamite. I'd be so psyched to get her. Um, Again, she's an awesome character. And then V Marathi, I again, weird characters, right? Black Series did DJ Rex from Galaxy's Edge. They did Doc Ondar from Galaxy's Edge. I am all about those kind of tie-ins. And then of course, I just want more droids. Like the fact that we don't have a Gonk in Black Series. We have a vintage collection Gonk, but how do we not have a Gonk here? And 21B is crazy to me that they have not made him, right? Like just such a classic and iconic droid. Like, how do we not have him in the line? So, yes, I do have wants. Of these four, it's great that you saw Marin on the list. I'm down. V Marathi, I think no way we would get her. And then Gonk and 21B, I would hope so. Cautiously optimistic for those.
But there's very little original trilogy stuff coming out that's not just like, oh hey, here's an updated Luke Skywalker. Oh hey, here's like your 7th Chewbacca. And before we move on to my list, like, Gonk is actually super high on my list, but I didn't put him on because I figured it's already on your list, so we'll just talk about him here. 21B obviously is another character that I'd want. But, again, I want the rest of the Kenner figures. And when I show my figures, I'll show them now. I feel like this is probably a list that would surprise you, but it's very much based on completing some things and getting some figures that I had when I was a kid that they haven't done yet. So I did not have Snaggletooth, but they've made the other 3 Cantina Denzians. They finally made a Hammerhead, which is the only Black Series figure I've bought in the last 365 days.
That's a good
They
one.
have Greedo and they have Walrus Man. So They need Snaggletooth because you need to complete that 4 from the 79 Kenner line. So that's why he's there.
Got it.
Oh, were you saying something?
No, I've got to complete the 4. I'm with you.
Yeah. So then Nien Nunb seems to be like kind of a no-brainer figure. Like, how do you not like they made General Lando, like they gotta make this guy.
I think at one point you told me there was no figure for him, and I don't think I believed you because that does not seem conceivable that you would not have him, but
it's possible there's a sequel trilogy version of him, but there's not this version. There's not the Return of the Jedi version of him.
Mm-hmm.
So that I can't have that. And then the next two, like I want just like a bunch more Ewoks. The fact that there's only 3 Ewoks, that's absurd. That's completely absurd.
What are the 3? I only have 2. What's the third one? Oh, there's one that came with the speeder bike, right?
They did release him separately as well, though. That was Poplu that they did. But Logray, again, I had him and Chief Chirpa when I was a kid. Those were the only 2 Ewoks I had figures of. So that's why I picked him. But like if they did like a box set of 10 Ewoks, I would buy that box set. Like just
Ewoks.
Give me more Ewoks.
The $200 Ewok set. Well, it might as well just come with the Ewok Village, right?
Yeah. And then the last one I have on here is like I want a proper Empire Strikes Back Ugnaught. And again, one, it's just because like it's just cool looking, I think. But 2, like I have such a vivid memory of my being out alone with my grandmother and her buying me that figure while we were out, and me just going to all of her little errands that she was running. And I just had him with his little briefcase and I was just playing with the Ugnaught that whole day. I have such a vivid memory of that.
I'm glad that memory went that way, because when you're like, the Ugnaught, I have such vivid memories of my grandmother. I was a little concerned where that story was going to go, but that's a much more heartwarming tale than your grandmother was a little, 3-foot old person walking around. And that's another one too. You could do like a 3-pack, right?
Yeah.
Like, there you go. Use that mold 3 times. There you go.
So those are the ones that I would really like to see. I mean, but again, there's probably 24 figures that they haven't done. There's none of the Skiff people. There's none of the, like, there's very few Jabba's Palace folks. Like, how long did it take them to do Bib Fortuna? It took them forever to do that guy. There's lesser known Cantina people that didn't have Kenner figures that I would still like to see. There's so many things they could be doing that they don't do. And I do feel like they do it in the vintage collection. You get like your yak faces in the vintage collection. You get some of the other Jabba stuff. I don't know. It just bums me out.
I'm sorry. Well, hey, if you found that list, hopefully were any of your picks on that list?
Nothing.
Really? Okay,
nothing. The only thing that was moderately interesting, if it happened to be on there, is Callus. I'd buy Callus. But there's nothing on there that I'm interested in. That bums me out. And especially like compare it to what they're doing with the G.I. Joe classified line. And I don't want to get too far into this, but there was a G.I. Joe classified fan stream last week. And again, I've mentioned this. I'm kind of new to that line. I just started buying those figures recently, and I've bought them with vigor. But that fan stream was night and day. Like, it felt exciting. Everybody felt like they were really into it. It's not like it was full of like the best talkers in the entire world, but you could tell that like they cared, like they were really excited about it. It didn't, it was probably shot in the same studio, but it didn't have that like dead feeling the way that the one that I watched this week had. So I really love what they're doing. And it seems inconceivable to me that that's the same company that's doing the Star Wars ones in a way that I'm not as happy about.
Yeah. Is it because you have more connection to Star Wars than G.I. Joe, or it's just they're tanking it and that's all it is?
I don't know. And again, I don't want to necessarily like say anything bad about any of those people specifically. Because I don't know them. I don't know what kind of pressures they're under. I don't know what they are and aren't allowed to say. I understand and respect all of that. I just know that line in general is not scratching my itch.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's see. Hopefully that changes. Hopefully they're seeing this. They see your wish list and they're going to scramble and get right on top of that.
They're probably sculpting as we speak.
Yeah, they're still whittling away. They're hanging up banner, right? So they can celebrate and Tim.
All right, so I think we're kind of getting a little short on time here, so I think we can wrap up the Black Series conversation. But there's one thing we need an update on.
Perfectly excellent.
I'm gonna miss that.
Where do you stand
on
on the Dragon today?
Okay, so last we spoke, the pendulum was fully like ready. I've got everything in my cart, about to hit the buy button. I've swung back a bit because I'm thinking again, am I going to get my money's worth out of this in photos? Is it really worth the investment? And do I really need this? There's other things now that I'm thinking about I could spend the money on. Like there's a lens that I've been looking at. Maybe I can get that lens instead. I'll get a lot more mileage out of that. But it's that I'm torn because I could always buy that lens. But this Dragon is a one-time deal. But I think I'm swinging away from it at the moment. So
when does it end? When does also just for anyone who's watching that doesn't know what we're talking about the Mythic Legions. How do you say Baemir?
Baethir,
the Dragon fundraiser, which is a pretty penny.
It is a pretty penny, and it goes until April 6th is the final day. And I think things are starting to look up. All of the both add-on sets are unlocked. The Sir Bennigan is not fully unlocked with all of his stuff, whatever the guy's name is.
Fancy Bennigans isn't ready yet.
The figure is, but his soft goods and additional accessories are not there. But I don't know. This one I think is going to go down to the wire for me. But if I had to make a decision today, I think the answer would be no. I'm going to stay away.
All right. But well, we are planning.
We're going to swing back.
Yeah. We are planning to probably do something next week, maybe on Thursday, which will be even closer to D-Day, Dragon Day.
I think the pressure is going to amp up as we get closer. So
yeah, I feel like more stuff is going to get unlocked, and maybe we need to kind of maybe do something like the day of, like maybe we just need to have like a round table where people just relentlessly badger you until you.
And we could just watch the clock tick down. All right, I'm down for that. But I'm also thinking, for the excitement, maybe I won't ever say if I bought it or not, and then we will just wait 2 years and see.
But then that means every time we talk, I'll have to do this.
Perfectly excellent.
The answer to that coming up in 2 years. Now we'll see. I appreciate. I really like that. And I'm glad this is like therapy. I'm glad I'm able to talk about this and bring it up. So thanks for that.
You know what I say. I always say that if there's something that is out there that will make you happy and you have the means to do it, do it.
Yeah, you should write
fortune dead for a real long time.
You are dead for a long time. I think that's probably a good way to wrap up on. Like if it's out there, it makes you happy and you can afford it, go to town.
Go to town. Well, we're out of here. We'll see everybody real soon. Thanks all.
All right, have a good one.
Perfectly excellent.